All right, beautiful humans, welcome back to the It's All Bullshit podcast, episode 10. And so I have a special treat for you guys today. So back in the day, last year, it was actually last year, Michelle Katz and I got together to record an episode on my other podcast called Light Warriors Unleashed. Some of you know the podcast, you were following the podcast. There's over like 130 episodes over there on that podcast. And we did an episode. It was episode 126, and I'm going to have the links in the show notes if you want to go and listen to that before you dive into this one. You don't have to, but you can. And we had committed to doing a second episode, which we recorded, but I never launched live. And her book just came out recently. And I just sent her a message this week. I was like, look, are you okay if I move it into the It's All Bullshit podcast instead? Because we're dismantling health systems. We're talking about plant medicine journeys. We're talking about spiritual awakening and all the things that would be juicy as fuck for this brand as well. And she said, absolutely. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to merge the episode that never got launched from the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast into here. And so some of the things might be a little bit dated in our conversations because it was from last year, but her book is out. She was co-creating it then at the time. It's edited. You can buy it on Amazon. We'll have the links obviously in the show notes for you guys to be able to do that. But she is a powerhouse leader in connection with her own journey of health in the systems that she worked through and calling bullshit on all the infrastructures that were trying to contain her into her own illness journey, let's just call it. So this is a treat. I told you guys I'm going to be launching into some guest episodes purposely chosen that really align with the brand of the podcast, but I can't wait to deliver her here to you today. So if you guys are watching this on video, obviously I'm filming this like a year later. So I'm even going to be different, which is even going to be fun for some of you guys to listen to in the space of my own evolution and where I am at today and all the things. So I'm so grateful for this, but no further ado, here you go, episode 10 of the It's All Bullshit podcast. Let's fucking get it.
Okay, so Michelle and I recorded a whole podcast at the beginning without hitting record. Let's put it that way. Like, obviously I already did the intro. Everyone knows you're back. I'm excited to really lean into the conversation we're gonna have today through plant medicine. But you were just telling me about where you were when we recorded the last episode and some things that you'd done. So I want you to just take the reins and go with that because I want to know, and I'm sure the listeners want to know too about the journey you've been on. So go for it.
So I remembered as we were talking and you were telling me about the parasite cleanse, which I'm very, very familiar with all kinds of a whole spectrum of parasite cleanses because I've been doing them for so many years. But right when we did our last podcast, I was on, I'd say, day 2 or day 3 of my refeed from having done a 61-day juice fast.
Yeah.
Now, normally juice fasts like the one I did are only 40 days. That's like the norm for people to get all of the mucoid plaque out of their gut.
Right.
Now, in the health world, mucoid plaque is considered the holy grail. Like, if you release mucoid plaque, then you have done the thing. Like,
Right.
you have done the extraordinary thing that all people who have chronic conditions want to do because this and you really can't believe it until you see it. Like,
Right.
it's really hard to wrap your head around until it's like the parasite thing,
Right.
until you're actually doing it and you look at this material that has come out of your human body and you're like, that is not cool. That is black and rubbery and tar-like, and it smells like many generations of death.
Ugh.
And how has it been in my body all these years?
Yeah.
And I didn't know about it. So I released, now this is like, you might want to put a warning of graphic content on this episode, but
there's always warnings on these episodes. So we're okay, like in all different dimensions.
I love this. That's why I love this podcast. I could just like run wild.
Yeah, every episode has an E. Doesn't even matter. So an E in one way, an E in another way. It's all good. Yeah,
I love it. So I released mucoid plaque for 51 days straight, which was really epic.
Yeah.
And throughout that fast, I completely got rid of this ringworm that I had on my hand for 10 years. My vision got better.
Yep.
My skin completely changed. I lost 15 pounds. My chronic fatigue disappeared. And then when I took my next set of labs, I was able to see them back to back, what my labs looked like while I was on the fast and what my labs looked like just recently. So while I was on the fast, my cholesterol was still as it was, very, very high. It was 266. My LDL, which indicates bad cholesterol or possibly heart disease, was 187, which is very high. On the next set of labs I took, which was 6 weeks later, my cholesterol was 166. It had gone down 100 points.
Yeah.
My LDL went from 187, which again is very high, to 102, which is pretty much normal.
Yeah.
And then I was coming off my thyroid meds very rapidly. So I didn't know what was going on because my TSH, which indicates how your thyroid is producing thyroid stimulating hormone, it was still very high on the fast. It was 3.7, which means, oh, hey, you need medication. But I was already on medication, so I didn't want to go any higher because the idea is to come off.
Yeah.
So I just let that be. But then when I took my labs last week, it showed that I had gone into hyperthyroid. So now the medication I was on was so much more potent than what I needed because my thyroid was healing itself. So all of these incredibly, and I had chronic back pain for 2 years that went away day 2 of my fast.
Yeah.
And it never came back.
Yeah. So good. It's incredible what can happen. And these are the things that, like, Michelle and I talked in the first episode about her journey and discovering. And we just had a conversation about a friend of mine that literally purged cancer through parasites out of her body and the inflammation that was created through just worms and parasites and the shit that gets stored in our body. It's just like the purging through the juice fast. And it's like, I don't think people really recognize the power of what we have access to, because all of this is holistic. It's not medicinal, like from a medicine of pharmaceutical companies. It's all from the earth. Like if you think about your fast, it's all fruits and vegetables that you use inside of the space of everything. Just like the parasite cleanse that my girlfriend used and the one I'm about to go on too. It's all from holistic parts of our land. Like, and to recognize that, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I drank 2 to 3 gallons of juice a day, and the enzymes in the citrus, because there are 2 different juices. One is a ginger green blast, which really kind of cleans out your digestive tract. And one of them is a citrus juice, and the citruses actually break down that mucoid plaque so that you can just be releasing it. So all of the disease in our body essentially exists in this trapped place between the mucoid plaque and the colon. That's where the parasites are. That's where the Lyme is. That's where the candida is. That's where the fungus is. So when you start releasing the mucoid plaque, there's no place else for those things to go but out.
Out. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I actually, and this is the kind of the grossy, weird part to me. So I was that kid that, when I was younger, I used to go scrape my knees on the sidewalk on purpose so I could put peroxide on it to watch it foam. Like literally that's the stuff I used to do. So like I'm about to go into this parasite cleanse knowing that I'm going to be looking into the toilet to see what has been released through that because I want to see it, and I'm just like, and I'm weird, but I'm also like the visuals are so intense,
Oh my God. I mean, I have to say, I did like everybody else who releases mucoid plaque. I took pictures and I was like, this is 1.5 feet long and it came out of me. It looks like nothing else you've ever seen. And what's really interesting to me is that I've had doctors and other practitioners say, I've never heard of mucoid plaque. So that is troublesome because again, mucoid plaque is essentially, and that's not to say that there's no other way to get better, but when you are parasite cleansing or juice fasting, you are releasing this stuff in one form or another, like if your parasites are coming out, then at some point your mucoid plaque is coming out because they kind of have to, they go hand in hand. So that is the key to healing the body or removing the obstacles, because once you start removing the mucoid plaque, then your body, like suddenly I was absorbing all of my nutrients and my hair started to grow like a weed and my skin like became like a baby skin. And my wife was like, what is happening to you? Like you're like a teenager again. And your vibration is like so incredibly high, because think about when you're like 6, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that's stopping what you take into your body from being absorbed into your system, into your bloodstream. You eat an apple, you eat a pear, you eat anything, or you have sugar, like whatever it is amplified
Yeah, it is.
because there's no blocks.
Well, and we were talking about this. So because this episode comes out after the Parasite episode that I actually launched like back at the beginning of March. And if you've never listened to that, you guys need to go back and listen to that episode. I think it's episode 124. It is like we talked about the spiritual, like literally the vibration when parasites are in the body are dropping the vibration of the physical form.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it is more challenging for us to connect. We are like it is in the space. So when you release all of this out of the body, it's like then all of a sudden it just opens up the palette. So yeah,
Oh, there's
powerful
such
thing.
and to connect it back to plant medicine, when I first did my very first ceremony,
Yep.
I had been mercury toxic for many years at that point. I
Right.
had only just started understanding and diagnosed. I was only just not long before the trip, maybe just a few months, I had been diagnosed for the first time in 3 years with something, with mercury poisoning.
Right.
And I was able to actually take hair tests and gauge and see like what was going on. And it was really the testament, the power of the plant that I was using, the ayahuasca, was such that when I went to Peru, I already knew that I had very high levels of mercury, but nothing was showing up in the aluminum. It appeared like,
Mm.
oh, okay, I got off easy. All I got was mercury. No. When I finished
Yeah.
my 4 ceremonies in Peru
Mhm.
and I took another hair test,
Mhm.
my aluminum levels were through the roof, which meant plant medicine was chelating,
Yeah. Yeah.
just pulling
Yeah.
the metals out from my bones from places no test can get to.
Right. Yeah, it's so powerful. I have a client of mine who loves to travel, and randomly last year I just said to her, "Hey, there's this retreat center. It's an ayahuasca retreat center in Peru that I've been kind of eyeing on Instagram. I'm feeling called to go in October of this year and go root into like a 10-day ceremony there and then go hike up Machu Picchu when we're done. So do like a 2-week experience." And she says to me, "I'm in." And I'm like, and she's like super cool, like very hippie kind of energy. Like she would just, it would be the exact person that you would want to do this kind of trip with. And so
Totally.
like I I have never been to Peru yet. It's part of like a calling of mine. And it's really fun that I had a clearing done from someone who doesn't know me at all. And she goes, Machu Picchu is calling you. And I was like, I know. See, I've fucking been channeling this shit, like, and I'm just like, she goes, you had a lifetime there. And I'm like, I know I did. So I get like the medicine of ayahuasca. I've already done ayahuasca once, and I knew the next environment would show up for me where I needed to revisit her and kind of drop into that space with her. And I feel like it's coming this year in a very tight container of energetics, not
Mm.
just a one
Oh,
time or a 2 night. Like it's like we're we're doing this together. Yeah. So powerful.
wow. That's going to be, I mean, that's going to be so powerful because the energy and the medicine coming through the Shipibo culture and the
Yeah.
Shipibo shamans was, I had never been exposed to anything like that at the time that I
Mm.
went down. And again, my body was so riddled with Western, not just Western disease, but Western spiritual disease.
Yes.
I had
Mm.
been, at that point, I was, in my mid to late 40s. I was probably about 45 or 46 at the time. So I spent a lifetime growing up in the culture I grew up in, which was a very traumatized culture. My parents were immigrants. Were Holocaust survivors. We grew up in this steeped in this deep, deep ancestral fear and trauma. I took that on the road to Hollywood,
Right.
which is rife with its own kind of trauma.
We got all the layers showing up.
We got
I
all the
know.
avenues for
Yeah.
like spiritual poison, right?
Yeah.
And I carried those layers and layers and layers of just cultural just sickness
Yeah.
with me to Peru. And I thought, and I was sick. I was physically ill. Like, how am I going to get to this place in
Yeah.
Pucallpa. Like I'm by myself and I'm still my brain and cognitively, I was still in very poor shape, even though I had been chelating and detoxing for, 6 or 7 months at the time. But as I said, unbeknownst to me, there were all these metals that were buried deeply. I hadn't even begun the parasite cleansing. I was just doing the metals.
Yeah.
And I honestly hadn't even scratched the surface. And had I known the power of ayahuasca and what well, had I known a lot of things, I should back up, I mean, a lot of things were like I was oblivious to on that first trip because I was living in that very three-dimensional narrowly informed mindset, I should
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I wasn't educated. It wasn't that I wasn't, informed about the world. It was that there was a whole universe, a whole spectrum of things that I could never have even wrapped my head
Oh,
around.
it's amazing what it does to just like
Yeah.
like you can't even like, and some people are super scared in the space of it's like you get called to the medicine, like because I'm sure like how Peru landed on your plate was an also a divine intervention that how did it like let's talk about that just because I think that that's imperative for some people to hear too.
Oh, it was so bizarre. And I feel like this is like a whole chapter in my book
Yeah.
because it was so strange how it all happened. So I got super sick. I couldn't work. I had to wrap up my house and move out and rent it so that I could like have some money. And I got it in my head. We may have talked about this. I'm not sure. I got
We
it in my
did.
head. I
We
was going
did.
to go
Yeah.
to Bali
Yeah.
and find like a Balian healer and find somebody in a cave that was going to like totally know what was going on with me. And I went to the East Coast. My mom was still living at the time in my childhood home in Staten Island.
Yeah.
Which, my bedroom was still perfect. All of the things were like still exactly they were when I was in junior high. Lavender wallpaper, a trundle bed, the whole thing. And I thought, is this how it ends? Is this how the story of my life ends? Is that I go back to my childhood home
You're
in
done.
Staten Island? So I went back there and I didn't really have the funds or the resources to go to Bali for as long as I wanted to go there. So I ended up getting on a television show that was local that happened to have been being produced in Staten Island. And I worked on that, and it was a little bit rough for me to work around like my physical stuff, but I was able to function just enough so that I could manage, to handle the show. And at some point during the show, I think I was like walking around my old neighborhood, walking around my old grammar school, my junior high school. And I got a call from a friend that I hadn't been in touch with for many years. And I looked at the phone and I was like, this is weird. And I picked it up and he had been an addict for a really long time and we lost
Oh,
touch.
yes, I remember.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and he just was like, yeah, I did this thing called ayahuasca and it totally healed me. And now I'm getting married. And I thought, really? Like, that is one of the more shocking things I've ever heard in my life because he was in really bad shape for a really, really long time. And it seemed like one of those stories where he was just caught in this loop and he was never really able to find his way out. And I came home, I got online, and I said, like, what is ayahuasca?
Yeah.
And when can I go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found Nimiakaya
Yeah.
and I read all the testimonials and I booked my trip. And I thought, I will find a way to get down there. Like, I will find a way to physically manage to make it down there. And I flew to see my mother and my niece in Florida. And then my niece took me to the airport and she said, I'll put you on my phone so that I know, like, if you disappear, you're kidnapped or something. Because I was like really paranoid about leaving. I was paranoid. I was like, I'm not going to be okay. I'm going to get lost in the jungle. Like, you'll never hear from me again. And at that point, I was still so sick and miserable and alone that I was sort of surrendered to that. I was like surrendered to anything that might occur
Yeah.
during these ceremonies, although I really didn't understand the gravity
Yeah, of course.
of like what
You're
I
so
was
fascinating.
actually walking into with the kind of thing I was carrying on me. Did we
Mm.
had we gotten into the consciousness of my father?
Yes, we did
Okay.
top into that. And but there's a story that you wanted to share in connection with plant medicine, I believe, with your dad. Yeah.
Okay. So this was where it got very, very deep and thorny
Mhm.
during my retreat in Peru. Um, during the third ceremony, unbeknownst to me, my father's consciousness when he died, I was only a few
Right.
feet from him. It gotten
Yeah.
trapped in my body.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about what that even means.
Yeah.
So all I knew was like I was just very sick, and I was as sick as I had been the day he died. You know, it was
Yeah.
maybe a little bit better because I'd been chelating, but not a whole lot. And so we got into the third ceremony, and I did what I did the first two ceremonies. I took the, you know, the correct dose that I thought for me. I set my attention. I waited a while, you know, the medicine kicked in, and at some point in that ceremony, somebody lit up a mapacho cigarette
Mhm.
and blew a tremendous amount of mapacho into my face, which was a huge amount of smoke.
Yeah.
And this triggered the reliving of my father's
Mm.
experience during the Holocaust when he was a child.
Oh, wow.
So I smelled and I heard,
Oh,
I felt on the deepest levels imaginable
everything.
the trauma that
Ah,
he went through firsthand during this. And he had COPD, so the smoke started to make me choke.
of
And
course.
I was choking up and coughing up almost like big blocks of energy that
Yeah.
felt like, you know, physical.
Yeah. Well, only
Um,
can you imagine, like, let's just dissect that for a second. Like,
yeah.
his childhood being there and what he had witnessed and was a part of. And I can only imagine the smoke. If where was he in a concentration camp? Concentration.
No, he was in a camp, but he was hidden. He was hidden for
Right.
2 years behind a false wall.
Yeah. So like I can only imagine what that would have felt like and the visceral experience of what he held in his body that he never moved out because we weren't doing this stuff back in the 50s, 60s, you know, like it just like it never consciously was
Never.
brought forth and how it was so
No.
tied into you. Wow. And to be able to heal your lineage line through that experience of that energy too, like and all of the spiritual aspect of this. It's powerful. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It's like when we first you know were they were doing the facilitation of like the things to do during ceremony, like if you have runs of problems, knock on the floor, stay in your own mat, stay in your own energy. You know, if you really are having a problem, we'll take you into the back room so you can have your own space. And I remember thinking to myself, I would never ask for help by knocking on the floor. That's not who I am. And there's no way. I'm so composed no matter what's going on. I'm a really composed person. There's no way I would ever need to like be taken, you know, away from the group. And meanwhile, I was like freaking out, you know,
Right.
screaming. I mean, they literally, I believe one of the male facilitators carried me
Yeah.
into the back room so that I could not get, you know, scare other people and be infiltrated so much by the energy because I found that the energy from a lot of the other people was mixing in
Yeah.
with my experience, and I was such an open portal that I was almost transported to the places of trauma, not only of my father but of all the other people
That were there.
who were
Yeah.
in the group. And the I can't even tell you how visceral the experience was. Like I was for the first time in my life in his shoes. I was in his
Mm.
soul,
Mm.
because his was in mine for this period of time. So
Yeah.
the theme of the 5 years that I spent doing plant medicine, starting from ayahuasca and going all the way through iboga,
Yeah.
including bufo and combo and all and mushrooms and all of the things,
Yeah.
the theme of it was really the healing and the release and the sort of transmutation
Mm.
of my father's experience as a Holocaust survivor. That really
Wow.
was the crux of all of these chapters.
Wow. It's
Um,
the work. Just like I just like you can't like the work I did with psilocybin last year. Literally it's a year ago, like almost today, the day we're recording, that I dropped into ceremony because I felt like I was consciously being blocked in some way, shape, or form. And I dropped back into when I was 17 and I didn't consciously know this because I had protected myself where I had gotten gang raped. So so psilocybin took me right back there and I was like, oh my God, I remember this now. And all the pieces. And then I went and healed all these lifetimes of trauma and torture and other rape scenarios where I had been in all these multiple lifetimes. And literally after ceremony, and just me and a friend and our facilitator, just the two of us, and our facilitator was Peruvian. So she was a beautiful, she grows her own mushrooms, and it was such a sacred ceremony. But I came out of ceremony, felt like I went to war, and literally my hair, I had a ponytail like this, but it was like one little piece in the little like thing, and my hair was just like everywhere because it was like I was in war battling. And
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't get the depths of how this holds in our body, like the things that we do from lifetimes and generations and everything. It's crazy how we can go back into spaces this way. Yeah.
And that's remarkable because if you experience that during psilocybin, which I've experienced and I know can be really possible, but if you experience that during psilocybin, I can only imagine what your experience is going to be when you go down to Peru and you're immersed. Because I found that the Shipibo shamans, the pair, they came in
Yeah.
pairs. It was husband, wife, and then brother and sister,
Mm.
alternating ceremonies. Um, when they came and sat at my feet, because they would come to each person during the ceremony and they would sing their own brand or their own version of the Icaros, which was sort of tailored. My experience of it was that chapter of the Icaros, or that refrain or verse that they were on, was like uniquely tailored to the journey that you were in. So they were
Mhm.
singing, the transformation and the transmutation that your soul was going through. And I was communicating telepathically with them, and the one of the shamans just bent over. At that point it was my father, it really wasn't me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And one of the shamans just bent over and just started crying, and he was
Mm.
telling me telepathically that he was crying for what my family had been through.
Been through. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
And
yeah. Go for
so
it.
so I want to really know. I'll be really intrigued as to like how deep your experience like will be if you're so open and energetic and tapped in that you can have experience like that, and remove that kind of block with psilocybin. What is going to happen when
Yeah.
you're immersed in the lineage of those Shipibo shamans? Like,
Oh,
wow.
it's like, so I did my first ayahuasca experience with a Brazilian tribe that came up from Brazil called the Yawana tribe. And they're very
Okay.
well known in the world. Most people know them. Like they actually have social media followings and stuff. Like they got, and
Oh,
I didn't, so just like you, naive, literally on a Tuesday, my nurse came over to give me some of my vitamins through IV. And the last time she was over, we had talked about ayahuasca, and it never came into my awareness before this. Like it was just a thing. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I kind of heard about it. I literally had no clue. And she said, hey, they're doing a ceremony at this retreat center on Saturday. Let me see if they have space. And literally they did. And I said yes. And that was it. Like I didn't do any research. I really had no idea what I was getting into. Like I didn't even consider anything. I just said yes.
right.
So I get into this event venue and there's 50 people there. It's super tight too. Like literally the
Oh,
guy
wow.
beside me was like on my mat. Like I had no personal space at all. And it was just a thing. And it was like uh I was the only person in the whole entire place that had never done ayahuasca before. So
Oh, wow.
I got brought up first. I had a special blessing from the chief's son. Like it was, and everyone after was like, oh my God, I can't believe you got this blessing. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just so naive, no clue. Later on, I go to look, they have albums on Spotify, like they're super well known in the space of all these things. And I I met ayahuasca and everyone told me it's such a beautiful experience. It's so beautiful. After the second medicinal dose, I was like, what the fuck is beautiful about this shit? Like I'm in the depths of the darkness. I
You're
see
in it.
myself crawling in tar, like I'm covered in tar. And I just kept hearing you need to let go. And I was trying to get it out of my body and my body wouldn't get it out. Like I was trying everything to get it out and I couldn't get it out. And then finally, when I surrendered, and
Right.
felt the energy of that, she just said to me, you need to go dance. And they played music all night. And I managed to get up, which is shocking. And, to be able to like kind of dance like this until I was able to let go into my body. And then I started channeling all the music. I knew all the words because I had lived a lifetime in this tribe and done all these ceremonies with others. And I didn't realize it at first.
Wow.
And people after were like, how did you know the words to the songs? And I was like, I don't know. And
Isn't that amazing?
yeah, and then I took the third, I did take another dose, and then I dropped into the creative side, and an album came through and the mission I was on, and it was a beautiful opening landscape. But it's going to be interesting to see where I go when I'm in a container, like held for a certain amount of days, and we're dropping into ceremony every few days to release it. And what's so fun is a heron just landed on the house across and is looking at us in the window now. Like it's almost like I haven't seen him in a while and he's back and he's like, hey, I'm here. And because I just saw his wingspan fly in and he just like literally landed on the roof across the street. So it's kind of fun. Well,
Oh
across
my
the road.
gosh.
Yeah. So
That's
fun.
that's a message for us. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, I sort of because it's been a long time since I was in that chapter,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the last ceremony I did was last December, and I very much knew that it would be the last one for a while because I knew I was now transitioning into the physical healing, the healing
Yeah.
of the body.
Yeah.
Um, but it sort of reminded me of, especially the dancing part.
Yeah.
It's like it reminded me of like that really liberated, surrendered, kind of just letting go, which is really where the magic happens, right? In the letting
Oh,
go.
yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I think it's the hardest part. So it was
It's
almost like
hard.
ayahuasca opened the door that way for me. And she was like, I went into the depths of me of like, you're such a selfish bitch and da 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 da. And I saw all these moments, and I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe that I manipulate. Like, and like, you go there and then
Yeah, yeah.
I could breathe again. And then I was like, okay, I could breathe again. And I'm like, I don't think I want another dose. And then all I heard was, you need another. And I went, okay, I can do this, like in the space of it all. Cause it is that like we have all these layers that we're working on and all these energies, like your father's energy, and that whole thing moving through. So it's just like the whole, I can't even describe to people when you're called, and then you just show up and you go where you need to go.
The whole thing was, it was so strange, and it was so it was such a chapter in my life that I can always look back on, because that was the beginning. That plant
Yeah.
medicine, those ceremonies in Peru opened a door that I could never close again, right? Like I
Right.
could never not see the truth
Yeah.
after I had been through those ceremonies. And it wasn't just the thought my and the other thing is that it took me many, many years to realize that it wasn't that I was channeling my father. It was that his consciousness had become attached to me.
Yeah.
And it took some work with a death doula
Yeah.
to actually move him out
Yeah.
of my consciousness and move that heavy. I always said I felt like I had about 160 pounds of dead weight on my shoulders, and I didn't really even know what I was saying.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But once he moved out, and once this death doula experience, she was very. I wrote a short story about it called The Red-Tailed Hawk. And he said to
Mm.
me during the ceremony, sometimes I'm in the form of a red-tailed hawk, and sometimes I'm like in your body, and I don't mean any harm by it. He said, but I didn't want to die and be with them. So he was
Mm.
talking about the people that had brought him so much
Mhm.
pain and brought his family so much pain because, I think the idea is that when we transition, we all go into spirit form, regardless of what role,
Yeah.
what character form and what hardships you either took on or gave to other people, abuser or abused, right?
Yeah.
We all kind of go into the same sort of energetic space, but with different lessons to learn about the
Yeah.
life that we had lived and the things we had done. And so he had explained to me through this death doula that he didn't want to go there and he didn't want to be with them. So he chose to be in this limbo state, which meant being attached to my physical body. And so we kind of coaxed him, me and the death doula just sort of coaxed him to go towards the light and sort of release himself. And when I went and did iboga, I sat down with them and I said, listen, this is the first ceremony I'm doing since my father was released, and I don't know if he's going to come back. I don't know if he's actually going to be in me again because I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were like, it's okay. Iboga will not let that happen. I was like, well, ayahuasca let it happen, and bufo let it happen, and combo let it happen. So is it about the plant medicine? Does the plant medicine decide? But as it turns out, during iboga, he came, but he was only an observer. So I was able
Mhm.
to coax him out because he wasn't still attached to me.
Yeah. I actually do work, we call them earthbound spirits. So I actually do work with this type of energy to help people clear stuff. Part of my work is called dismantling the shadow. So like I
Okay.
do a lot of clearing work that way. Even I play in the realms of demonic spells, curses and stuff and releasing people from that kind of work. So when you say this, totally get it, totally understand all the dimensions of this. And I want to make one comment about the souls on earth. So here's the thing about the earth experience is that we have duality. So we come to earth to learn things. So therefore, someone has to teach us or bring forth the opportunity for us to be taught the things that we're here to learn. So therefore, there is that duality, that shadow. But they've contracted that out, which means that they said that I will be the rapist or the murderer in this life so that you can learn that lesson because you need that to have happen. And it doesn't mean that their souls are negative souls. It just means that they said yes to the contract. And it sucks some days to think about it that way, but there's a lot of people that we look at in power and office right now that are doing some shit and you're like, fuck that guy and all the things. And it's like, wow, they're playing their role really well because you're now activated to actually step up and do something that's part of your mission to be able to lead. And if they weren't doing that, then you might still be sleeper agents not moving around life because nothing's activated that in you. So I
That's
love,
so interesting.
yeah, I love how you brought that forth of like, it's true. Like all the souls are there and the ones that created this experience for your father, for all these hundreds of thousands of people are over there as well. But there's a contract that came through. And it's like, it's sad to think that we have to go through that and that people have so much pain, but it's also why we came to Earth is to move through that and to learn it and to shift energies, you know? So,
It's such a powerful, first of all, that's such powerful work that you do because I think one of the most difficult, and I have to admit, the evolution process is painful and I
oh,
can't really say on all days, or even on a majority of days,
yeah.
I am as evolved, as I feel like I should be, with all of this work that I've done because I'm still in the rebuilding of my microbiome. I'm still in the physical healing of
Yeah.
being on this raw food diet, which
Mm,
is the way that I've transitioned on this particular path I'm on. I've transitioned from the juice fast, which is cleaning out the microbiome, right? And when we clean out the microbiome, we are releasing the trauma that
right.
lives for generations and generations and generations in that microbiome. So this was my way on the physical level of
Mm,
taking all of that I learned in plant medicine and actually translate it to my physical body. Okay, how do I actually cut this cord?
yeah, I love
You
that.
know, how do I release literally ages and ages and generations of
Yeah.
trauma that inform my psychology, the
Yeah.
survival aspect of it, the hunger aspect of it, the trauma and fear aspect of it. I'm still doing it because, food is a big deal to me and into my culture. And it was every day is a little bit of a, okay, Michelle, you can't really have anything that like is comforting, really. You can
Mhm.
have raw fruits and vegetables, you can have nuts and seeds, but you can't have anything cooked. You can't have
Yeah.
anything sauteed. You can't have a baked apples. Like this is
Oh,
really
baked apples.
stripping.
I
Like
know. Like,
no wine, no, coffee. Coffee.
yeah, coffee. Oh, yeah. Because it's roasted. So
So
it doesn't even come, like you could go get the beans if you wanted, but like,
you can't
yeah,
roast them.
yeah, I know.
You,
Yeah.
you could munch on them. Not sure how good that would be, but
I I don't know either, but there's because I obviously live in Costa Rica, so like coffee's a thing, and there's this
right.
plantation, this beautiful family plantation that I visited, and I go every week to the market to get their coffee because they literally roast the beans the day before they bring them. It is like I'm a coffee snob now. Like I don't know how I'd ever go back to North America and to drink that coffee. I don't even know, you know?
On a million levels. Like when I was in Costa Rica, I really felt like, I mean, I went there to do iboga, but I really felt like there was a level of freedom and space, that I
Hmm.
felt in Costa Rica
Yeah.
that I hadn't felt in the US in
Yeah.
many years. And it was a great place. That was sort of the culmination. Iboga
Mm.
was the culmination in a way of this chapter
Yeah.
from 2018 to really 2024, basically,
Yeah.
of plant medicine and the kind of the healing process. But if you want, we can travel back to the thing that happened after ayahuasca, which was bufo.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I haven't dove into Bufo on this podcast, but I do have like my dog. So I have cane toads that like they're really dominant here, and they're supposed to hibernate 8 months of the year. They don't in my yard, and my dog is addicted to cane toad and the Bufo medicine. It comes from the actual toad, right? And
Yes, yes.
literally, he goes out at like so now we have a whole protocol, but he goes out at night and he'll find them, and then he'll lick the toad that has the protection, like the bufo seeps out of the fucking toad, and then he gets high and he comes in and he's all high, but it's all toxic for the dogs. Within 15 minutes, their whole nervous system will shut down. So I've got a whole protocol that I have to go through of activated charcoal and raw milk and wiping his mouth. And he just like you just see him. He is out in the ethers because it just goes boom and it takes you right out
Yeah.
into the ethers. And it's like he is special. I just want to say he's special, So
Oh my God. So he's like this like shamanic dog who's having these out of body sort of like ethereal, like really crazy journeys.
oh yeah. Yeah. And it's actually hilarious to watch if you weren't in a situation of like needing to save his life because he could die. But it's like one of those things where I just look at him, I'm like, Clark, like his name's Clark, right? So it's even better that his name is Clark. And it's
He's
like, Clark.
Superman.
And he just looks at you and he just like kind of waddles over. He doesn't know what to do. Like he walks around in these circles, like he has no idea about life and he's trying to figure it out. But there's something about the smell. And even Lily, my other dog, isn't as dominant that way. If I call her back, she'll come because she just knows. But it's like he just has the itch. Like he's got to go get it. Like he's addicted like cocaine. Like he's like, I need to go get my hit. It's crazy. But yeah.
Oh my God. I guess I didn't realize because I know that the Sonoran toad is rare, they're hard to find and there's like a whole actually thing. There's like a whole war going on apparently between the Southwest and Mexico in terms of being able to preserve the Sonoran toads
Yeah.
because people are obviously using them to harvest
Yeah.
the bufo. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize that they were prevalent where you are.
Yeah, they're like everywhere. And some of them are like massive. So I don't know how, like there's a process of obviously getting the medicine, whatever they do with it to transmute it into wherever they're going with the medicine. But Yeah, it's just really interesting to watch it all play out. But please tell us about Bufo and your journey.
I had never heard, I never heard of it. I finished the 10 days,
Yeah.
came to the end of my first ceremonial experience in Peru, and I was altered in a way that, I mean, I really didn't see much possibility that I was going to live very much longer, not only because of my physical health, but because of what was going on with my mental health, because of the mercury. That's something that's it's so destructive that even on small levels, like even just small amounts of mercury that can come in through the air or the water are so destructive, or vaccines or flu shots. But the levels that I had going on in my brain had created such trauma and such crippling, just crippling anxiety that I didn't really feel like I could move around in this space anymore, in this world. And I was in a situation where I was just kind of waiting for the natural end. I just assumed that my body was gonna be shutting down, and so this ayahuasca thing was just like a last ditch effort to see if I could find, bless you.
Thank you. That was a release. That was great.
Yeah. To see if I could find some peace for my last few months, what I thought was my last few months on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And if I could transition in with some peace around what I had been through. That's really the only reason I went to Peru. I didn't think for 1 minute that this was going to actually heal me in any way. I just wanted the peace to transition.
Right. So crazy, right?
Crazy. So when I came to the end of the 10 days, I just felt like I was born again. It was really no other way to look at it. Was like I had cried, I had laughed, I had made like some best friends. I mean, I hadn't had a new friend in a decade. I was alone, kind of had become like isolated and alone and like very just inwardly just focused and just hopeless. And like, so when I came to the end of this 10-day period, I was wide open like a baby. And I went back to Florida to my mother's house, and I had a little bit time between this trip and my next job, which was going to be in Boston. I had accepted a long-term production job there, which I was also kind of a big surprise to me. I was like, okay, I guess this is still what I'm doing. I guess this is still what's going on. And so I had this window of time in Florida where I was integrating and I was so open. And the shamans in Peru told me that I needed to do combo. And I was like, what's combo?
Yeah.
And they were like, that's the medicine you need to begin to clear more of the heavy metals out. And so I went online, found a combo practitioner, called her up. She was in Fort Lauderdale. Her name was Michelle, and she was actually from Staten Island.
Of course she was. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. So good.
And I was like, oh my God. Okay. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
So I drove down there. We did the ceremony and I released what felt like decades of anger from my liver.
Okay. Yeah.
I just looked in that bucket. She said, that is your anger. That is your liver.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like a different, I feel like I've just unloaded things I didn't even know I was carrying around, that it didn't even appear in ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Like it was purely the toxic load.
It's physical. It's very physical. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, and it was bright, like neon yellow. And she said to me, I have a shaman coming from Mexico who's going to be serving bufo. And I said, what's that?
Yeah.
And she said, oh, it's everything, Michelle. I mean, it's really everything. I think that you should consider doing it. And again, I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah, I might be dying, so let's go,
That's right. Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. It was like those stories where you find out you're dying and you do everything and end up living, you fall in love and you start dancing and, you travel and suddenly like you're okay.
Yeah, that's like your whole life, like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so crazy. Yeah, it's so crazy. The cool part about, so I was expecting when I did combo, literally I did it 2 weeks ago, for the first time with
Oh, wow.
Abuela, a grandmother that came up from Peru, which is even more fun. And
Yeah.
I couldn't integrate with anything else that they were doing while she was here for 7 days, but I pretty much had a private ceremony with her to do combo one morning a couple weeks ago. And we didn't do it into buckets. We gave it back to the earth, which was even cooler. So we're on top of this mountain, literally like releasing back into the earth, which I thought was so fun. So I don't even know what left, and I didn't need to know what left, but I did a lot of womb work over 2 days, and I had started my bleed that morning, right in this period of time. So it was like my whole body was just like, we're gonna go. And I had gotten cramping down there, which I never get. So I knew that there was a lot of energy that was moving through my womb area on a physical level through that ceremony. And it was just like really interesting, the whole thing. Yeah.
Did you did you have a feeling in the days afterwards of like what exactly you had released? Like it was the integration part like part of that?
Yeah, I felt like it was more, I think it aligned a lot with the psilocybin journey. And I think I was actually letting go of the energy, like a lot of the physical energy that I'd created in closing up that area. Because even like now, my sex drive is like completely shifted. I'm like, why do I need to have another orgasm right now? Like, I just don't understand, like, and where before, because I'm single, right? So it's like, so before it'd be like a couple times a month when my certain hormones would hit certain levels and I'd make sure I'd release and I'd do some aspects, but now it's just like maybe we should masturbate. And I'm like, what is up? Like, it's just, so it's almost like I had that part of my body moved energy through that created the actual opening that is innately ours as women to hold. And instead of
Yeah.
it being clouded with the stuff that was there before, like the restriction of it. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's really the space. And that's why I feel called to almost do it a couple, because I asked her, like, how often do you do combo? And she told me the story of her grandfather who was literally bathing in a waterfall after he'd done some hape. And the frog with combo jumped onto his shoulder and told him about the medicine. And that's how their tribe started using the medicine in their tribes. And I said to her, how often do you do this? And she said, once a month for 3 months in a row, and that lasts us the year. Or you could do it 3 days in ceremony, and then you're good for the year. But she said to me during COVID, nobody took the vaccines. We just did combo every 15 days.
Beautiful.
Right. And I'm just
Beautiful.
like, there's something about that for me. And I'm just like, I feel like and I can't obviously go, well, I could if I wanted to Peru and tap into her, but I feel like who brought her in has a connection for me that's the exact lineage I need for the next couple months phases of this release in my body. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think combo is such an interesting and beautiful medicine because you're still grounded, you haven't left, your body. There's no interpretation, right? Like
Yeah.
because sometimes afterwards a ceremony you're like, well, I think that this vision meant this, or I think
Yeah.
I got this download, but sometimes like your interpretation of it as you come back into your body can kind of morph over time,
Oh, for
but
sure.
there's no mistake. When you're purging gallons of neon green or neon yellow liquid into either the earth or a bucket, and you can correlate, which color is coming from which organ,
Yeah.
then on a physical level, even though it's the energy that you're releasing, you're releasing it in the form of toxins.
Yeah.
And so it's a very I guess for my 3D brain,
Yeah.
it's like a very, like grounding medicine to hold on to because there's sort of no mistake. There's no interpretation. Like this is what happened and this is where it came from and now I feel it in this part of my body.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just curious because I didn't look down, to be like, what color are you? Where are you coming
Oh,
from? Like, and now I'm like, okay, let's do it again and see what happens, like imagine coming off of a parasite cleanse to then go into a combo
yeah.
ceremony. Like, what is going to
Wow.
happen then? I know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's going to be like, I have a friend who's a combo practitioner who told me that she went to certain areas of Southern California to
Yeah.
do where they spray the chemtrails really heavily. Here they spray really heavily.
Yeah.
And she said in her with her clients, she saw like purple
Wow.
in those areas.
It's crazy. I'm
Is
not
is
surprised at all.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, so we can see clearly how what we're doing to the environment and what we're absorbing in our bodies can be literally like coming out of us when we do these various medicines, whether it's parasite cleansing, combo, or what have you. It's like, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that? Like, why are we in this era right now of where the toxins emotionally, spiritually, physically have gotten so saturated in the human body that this is what we're doing now? This is what almost all of us are doing. Like, why? Why is this happening?
Yeah, because we're in that massive shift of evolution of the light. So we're recalibrating back into the purity of our alignment. And in order for us to do that, we've got to go through the shadow dynamics of it all that we've all been living in with all these years ancestrally, and we didn't realize it. And when I swear it's like the age of Aquarius in February of 2020, when this started to shift, the timeline started to open up. We then were able to heal more prominently. We started getting messages more dominantly, and we moved out of the masculine era and into the feminine flow. That all this started to move, and we all, through the COVID mechanism and all that kind of jargon that went through the world, it's like we started to see the light, and then people started to awaken to the truth, and then started to see that we were being poisoned everywhere, and they escalated it because they were like, oh my God, they're starting to awaken and see the truth. Okay, we've got to keep infiltrating them. So they're trying to battle with shit in our water, in our food, and all this like eat crickets and you'll be great, or mRNA dumb bullshit, and all the things that they're
Right,
trying to get us to poison ourselves with, because they see the lights escalating. And if they can keep us diminished and keep this, calcified, and keep us in a low vibration, they can control us. And that's the whole mechanism. And we're seeing through it all. So that's why we're battling it so heavily, because they've upped the ante, because they see what's actually happening. But they don't realize that as they up the ante, the light actually ups itself because of the duality paradigm that works through the laws of the world. So when the shadow rises, the light rises too, because that's the duality. So as the light rises, the shadow rises, which means that we see it more now than we ever have before. So
and would you say because of the intensity of the light, our physical bodies are now unable to hold like the parasites and the sickness and the illness and the
yeah.
trauma and the chemicals and whatever it is, whereas maybe we just stuffed it down before?
Oh, huge. Absolutely. So it's shining lights in all aspects of our life, including the body. The body cannot calibrate up to the vibration of what the spirit's doing or the energy that we've cleared. So it has to match. So we've got to, I say to everybody, the physical form is the last part. We do the energetic work, then we move within the mental and emotional bodies to be able to hold it, to change our habits and choices. And then the physical body has to purge all that out as well. So as we do all that work, we've got to support the body. And that's why we're being called into this. That's why the disease is showing us itself now. That's why plant medicine's coming in to be like, I got you. Like the earth has everything we need to shift this. We've just never had to lean on it as much as we have now, because we're coming back into like the purity of alignment, we'll say. Yeah.
It's so so magical in some ways to be alive right now. I mean, I think if you told me that I would have had this 11-year healing journey and metamorphosis that included, living through my father's trauma and
Mm.
really sort of going into deep ancestral and lineage work, and then possibly fasting for many months, I don't think that I would have believed it. But I think my story is lining up like with what you're saying, because I really had to start with the deep spiritual work and the ancestral
Mm.
work. Like I had to do my parents, my grandparents, and those kinds of things before I could even get to my own body.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. And I think the most for me, the apex of like, whoa, what is going on here was my Bufo experience, because
Yeah.
it was right after ayahuasca and I was completely open. I had discovered already through ayahuasca that, my father was at least channeling through me. I didn't understand he was attached to me. But I, went to Florida and did combo, and then came back a few days later for this shaman who had come from Mexico with some very powerful bufo, which again, I didn't really even understand what it was or where it came from or what it did. And he just sat me down. We did one person at a time. And
Okay.
I could feel before I went to ceremony, I was starting to cough. So
Yeah.
in looking back, I could feel my father was starting to kind of show himself right before the ceremony. And I told him, I said, I think I'm very triggered by mapacho. So please don't light any mapacho during this ceremony. I don't know
Don't
what's
blow
going
it
to
in my face. Yeah, you
don't blow
know.
it in my face. Just like
Yeah.
keep the mapacho away from me. And they said, okay, what's your intention? I said, my intention is to really heal my physical body. And so I sat down and I took it in, and then he said, take another one. I took it in, and he said, take another one. I don't know if I can. And I'm not really even sure if I did because I can't remember because I was out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as soon as I went out, my father's suffering, like
Mhm.
the level of pain and suffering existing inside his body was all there was. My
Wow.
body was gone, and I just started wailing, just I wasn't like in a personality
Yeah.
because there was no personality and there was no physical body, but I was inside this container, so to speak, of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know,
could just see you in
really,
darkness. That's it. Like just it's just dark. Yeah.
it was like all I could do was be with it, right? And cry. And then what felt like maybe a few decades of that rapidly came through, and then we went into my grandmother, which she had lived through World War I and World War II, so through some very major trauma, and so the suffering got amped up because
Right.
she's a woman. So she had given birth, and she had gone through the pain of seeing her children starve and be in danger, and her, all of her stuff that she witnessed and been through, had
Yeah.
experienced. We don't even know to what extent because she's a
Right.
woman.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Suddenly the suffering had gotten amped up, and I just recall in looking back that I was wailing without a body,
Mm.
just wailing. And then it went
Wow.
to her mother and her mother and her mother. It went very much through all the women, 6 or 7 generations back, I want to say.
Wow.
And it was like nothing. There was no other ceremonial experience I had that quite um, gave me that perspective. And I laid on the deck. We were in Florida, and there was like a canal in the back, and I just took a yoga mat and I laid in the back, and I just cried for like two
Wow.
hours.
Yeah.
Cried.
Yeah.
I couldn't even really piece it together. It took a while to integrate that. I would say I thought about that ceremony every day for about 1 year.
Wow. Yeah. We don't
Yeah,
realize because there's some people in the world that have addiction and then they go to plant medicine and then the plant medicine becomes their addiction and then it's like they can't stop doing plant medicine ceremonies because they're
right,
addicted in the space of it all.
right,
Um, but some of us, it's been a year since I did psilocybin. And I know I'm being called back into that space, which I'll probably do a ceremony, somewhere between now and when I leave for Peru in October. I feel like it will come, like not right now, I'm in combo energy, but like somewhere in that space, it'll probably come back. But it's been a year since I've been with her. It's been a year and a half since ayahuasca. So it'll be 2 years and a bit since I've done a ceremony with her that when I go back, in October to be in ceremony with her again, and it's like we don't realize that it takes some time sometimes with some of these to be able to integrate and move through. And to understand, and I don't even think we ever understand. It took me like a year and a half, and one day I was like, oh, that's what that meant, like,
right, right. Oh yeah.
together. Like it's just, yeah, it's crazy when we think about it.
Integration is kind of everything, I
Hmm.
think, when you're working with these medicines, because it's so baffling. It can be like really confusing, and it can be really baffling, especially if you're dealing with complex issues like, sickness or addiction or trauma, real serious
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
I think the integration part for me was like I was on this very, very, it was unique. It was a real duality because I was still very sick, but
Yeah.
I was also on a very high vibration. And I think part of the work in my life is to understand how to be un to feel physically unwell and yet hold a very high vibration. And that is the work of a lifetime. And I still haven't quite captured it,
Yeah.
but it's I'm still have to work on it because I have my days that
Yeah.
are not great.
I bet you do. Yeah.
But you still want to be, the light, because I don't want all of that work, even on the bad days, even on the sick days, even on the physically uncomfortable days or the herxing days. I don't want all of that work that I did to be lost in the shadows. So my work, I feel consistently is to, okay, how do I hold both spaces at the same time? How do I feel physically ill and not so happy and yet hold the highest possible light I can?
Yeah.
And that it's a challenge and it doesn't always work, but
Welcome to Earth. I just want to say that to you. So that, and that's the thing. It's like that's the quest I feel like we're all on. We're all dealing with our stuff, but we're also this beautiful beam of light. And our job is to be able to still shine while we're dealing with our stuff. I say to people like all the time, I said this in one of the, like I have a membership portal way that I teach in every week. And I said to them in January when I was teaching one week, I was like, guys, I had the darkest year of my life in 2024. Did any of you guys notice? And they're like, no. And I was like, I was dealing with my shit. So much of my shit was coming through, so much healing. Like I was in it. Like, February was the psilocybin journey. I was like, I was in my stuff, but you didn't know it to be that because I wasn't sitting in that when I was in servitude, when I was in the space with you, when we were one to one, when we were like all the things you didn't see it, but in the depths of the darkness in my nights or when I was by myself, I was doing the work in the space of to move it through. And it's like it's we choose it and we're not great at it every day. Like I wouldn't like some days it would be like, where the hell is Colleen? We can't find her. Yeah, Colleen's fucking hermiting and dealing with her shit over here, in the space and stuff. But it's like, because that's what's necessary and needed. But it's like when we find the groove and we just are vulnerable, real, raw, then we can come from still the place of light while we're in the physicality of it. So yeah.
and you know what? I mean, I really think I have like utmost respect for because it's something I do aspire to do every day, and I feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm maybe I'm 7 out of 10, maybe I'm 6 out of 10, 10 days, maybe,
Yeah.
but I really am aspiring always to like follow the lead, of the people who are really in their service work
Mm,
every day, no matter what is happening. I when I have to retreat, I go to my canvas, and
yeah.
I paint, and that's really how
Yeah.
I can connect those two vibrations: the feeling, the low vibration, the unwell, the detox symptoms, whatever they are,
Yep.
and also the trying to hold the light, so that at least I can kind of be in a vibration that might bring beautiful colors or beautiful energy to other people. So that's kind of like my default place,
Yeah.
I sort of default back to the art studio.
Well, and we all have that. Like for me, it's like I love to read. I love to be in a cozy container, meaning whether it's my bed or my couch, and I just like to drop into the space and dive into the places I want to go. And it's like I know this about myself, and I used to rebel against it and then feel like, disconnected and like, how can you take time for yourself when you have all this work to do? And now I'm just like, fuck that shit. This is what I need. And I've learned how to kind of calibrate in that space. So for me, it's in that way. And I'm being called back into my drum that's up there because I can keep hearing it all the time. It's like, you haven't played us in a while. We need to meet. And I'm like, I'm coming. I'm coming. It's like we're doing the thing, it's coming through. But it's like there will always be the days that we're not on, nor should we have to be. It's about life and living and understanding, but still communicating that this is transpiring, like there's a pedestal some people put me on sometimes in my world, and I've knocked it out so many times for people to just get. I'm like, look, guys, I'm a human doing this world too. And just because I can tap in certain ways and I've done some of the work and I've been in this for 16 years doesn't mean that I'm not human. And it doesn't mean that I'm not okay too. If I tell you that, I had a panic attack yesterday because this and this was transpiring, I'm not saying it to you because I'm asking for help right now. I'm saying it to you for you to understand that this is part of our journey in the space of it all. And one of my girlfriends and I have this like code. She's like, if you ever message me that you need a certain amount of minutes, whatever it is, we make it up all the time. It used to be 7, 4, 2, whatever. If we get a text that say, do you have 2 minutes? That means I'm reaching out for help in the space of like, I need some support, whatever that is in the space of it all. But, it's part of the experience, the whole mechanism of it all for us. So, yeah.
It is. And as women, I think sometimes it's challenging. I find it challenging anyway to like ask for help or to say, I need some me time. Like I'm actually not going to work. I'm not going to work today, or I'm not going to be in that accomplishment, moving forward mindset, the goal-oriented mindset. I'm actually going to turn inward and take a bath and listen to some music, or like put my feet in the soil and hang out because it's a sunny day.
Yeah.
Like it's really still a challenge for me to just allow my mind to slow down. But I find that when my mind speeds up too much, my body starts to take over and say,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
not going to work.
No. And we're like, I really speak into this a lot, is that we're coming out of the energy of doing all the time and being. And when we are being, we actually can create and expand in that, where most people are like, well, I got to do in order to make money. I'm like, look, if you just be, then the right actions will show up that will align behind your being, that will collapse all the 500 million things on your to-do list, and you'll take one action that will create everything that you need. But we've been conditioned to think it's the other way around. So we're dismantling that all the time right now and watching it transpire. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful landscape. So
And that's the work. I mean, that's really where the work is. And I have to tell myself that I'm in the editing process of awakening in the age of metals. So I am hoping, I'm planning for a release date of the fall of 2025.
Okay.
And the book basically spans the 11 years from the moment I got struck down in the middle of Hollywood of what is happening, to all through the Peru experience and Bufo and Boston, and then meeting my wife just sort of randomly on location, and then into Los Angeles and COVID and Idlewild and iboga, and then back to my physical body and ending with my 61-day fast.
So cool. I love it. I look forward to getting access to the book. I'll have to like send it to Canada and then pick it up someday, because it's challenging to get stuff here. We don't have addresses and stuff. Yeah, we don't have addresses. Like the import fees are like really intense, and you can't even get like holistic medicine into the country unless you have an MD sign off on it for shipping. You can bring it in your luggages and do all the things. So that's why whenever anyone goes outside of the country, we're all like, I'm headed to Canada, send what you need there, and we just keep bringing it back, whatever we need for each other. So it's
wow. So what about if you need to order like supplements or anything like that?
You have to send it to somewhere and get it picked up. So I think we froze. It's probably my internet, because that is standard around here. To see something. There we go. Okay, wait, I almost got you back. There we go. We got you back now. I think so. Well, at least we got you in the sunshine. Those of you that are not watching the video online.
You are.
There you are. There we go. I got you back.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to put the book in my backpack and fly on my next trip to Costa Rica and drop it off.
Come here. I definitely want to get access to the book. And I feel like this has been a really complete circle in our dynamics together, Michelle. And I'm really grateful to know you as a human on this earth. And I cannot wait to see how this whole thing comes about in the space for you and how this next evolution of your mission gets activated through the book and where it's going to take you. Because I feel like it's just it's the beginning of an opening that you can't even comprehend yet, which is going to be really awesome to witness.
I'm really like looking forward to it because it's brought me to you. And these 2 days, that I recorded with you were such great reminders of the possibilities.
I love that. And I love that for those listening, the dynamics of what we move through. Like, yeah, we had the story, but there's so much layered in that. And each person, I think, is going to take whatever they need from listening to us together and the co-creation that we got to do. But yeah, I'm just really grateful. And who knows what'll happen? Maybe we'll have a part 3 somewhere down the line.
I I hope so because I think after the book comes out, my prayer is that I get to connect with all of the women out there who are moving through this kind of like deep, dark sort of transformation physically and also like spiritually and energetically, and that I get to be some kind of guide,
Yeah.
in a way, either just through the book or through working, one-on-one or doing workshops or whatever it is. I just want to be able to kind of like accompany, like escort so many of these women. And I say women just because our transformational healing contains some layers in it
Mm.
that are a little bit unique and different, especially where it comes through the body and the endocrine system and the hormonal system.
Yeah. I just got a vision. I lost you again for a second, but I just got a vision of us. Um, I'm going to be hosting apparently in the next couple years an event, and you're going to be speaking at it. And I just saw the room. I saw me in it, and you're going to have a mic and you're going to be on the stage. So I'll let you know when that comes to life, and we'll get you invited,
Please.
and we'll align all the things whenever that's landing. I got it, and it's like, and everything is pink, which is really way more interesting, like fuchsia pink. And I'm just like, okay, so like that's part of my multidimensionality. I love fuchsia pink. It's like an MO. So I was like, wow, apparent, but it's like a powerful, like yeah. So I'll let you know when that's coming to life, and we'll get that aligned.
Please do. And it's ironic you say pink because I did a commission for a friend of mine who's very much like a medicine woman, a soulful, transformational character in my life who went through many of the journeys with me, including my trip to Iboga, to Costa Rica to do Iboga. We kind of went through that whole thing together. And not long afterwards, she said, I really want you to do this sort of commission for me. It's like a portal. And these are the colors: magenta, fuchsia, mauve, lavender, these kinds of things. So I bought these like buckets, huge amounts of all of these colors, and I'm still working with them.
Oh, I love, yeah, fuchsia for me is like an activator. Like it is like it's in the branding of the podcast, even with my name. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, there's just something about that color for me. It's just like boom, like black, white, and fuchsia. Like those are like, yeah, that's my MO. So it's great.
Well, I'm feeling a Colleen painting coming through. So
Yeah.
so should that happen, we'll figure out how to get it to you.
Yeah, or I'll come by. I'll fly in. We'll meet up somewhere in the ethers and do something together. Who knows what'll transpire, but that would be
Come
amazing.
up to Idlewild. It's 6,000 feet and lots of really interesting things happen up here.
Well, remember I don't know if you remember this, but I used to live in Palm
You were in
Desert.
Palm Desert.
Yeah, so I'm down for going back to California. There's a lot of energy that needs to be moved in that state anyway, so you never know what I can assist in.
Seriously, we need
I know.
all of the help we can get.
Yes, I know. I know. It's so funny. Anyways, Michelle, this has been amazing. I know the listeners have taken, like, if they haven't taken anything, then they need to re-listen because there is so much that we got to serve within. And I'm just like, I'm really grateful for the
Thank
experience.
you so much. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for the work you do. And thank you to your listeners. And I'm sending so much love.
Yes, me too. I'm sending you guys so much love. And we have Michelle's contacts again in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out, we just kind of follow along the journey of the book coming through and all the things, I'm going to highly encourage you to do that. And are you still taking on one-to-one clients right now in the aspects of like health and stuff? Yeah. So like if you're feeling called and you're like, I think that she can help serve me, I'm just going to say to you guys to reach out to her for sure.
Yes, and I work with donations,
Mm.
and sliding scales and all that stuff. So never let money get in the way, because I like to be able to help as many people as I can in whatever ways that I can.
Yeah, I love that. So good. But again, Michelle, thank you so much for shining your light bright, and we'll see you guys all in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye for now.